Got a question. I want to attract a woman that doesn't find me attractive. From Elton. Dear Hamza, I hope this message reaches you. I'd like to share my story to provide some context for my situation. I've liked a girl for 3 years. She was a good friend, but I acted distant because I wanted to seem cool. Unfortunately, I regret that behavior now. A memorable moment was when she asked me if I had a date for Valentine's Day in 2023, but I was too nervous to respond. Recently, she smiled at me and maintained eye contact, and we've been talking more often. However, my friend teased her about me and she jokingly responded, "Ew, no." Oh, God. Oh, my God. So when you have like a crush on a girl and your friend or her friend kind of mentions you to see if she likes you, and she says something like, "Ew, no, I'm not interested in him." Oh, that fucking hurts, bro. This is why you need to start going to a martial arts club. You know, you hear everyone talking about martial arts online. So if a girl ever says this, you give her a fucking 1-2. I'm unsure if she still remembers how I behaved in the past, but I'm working on self-improvement and fitness. I live in India and have some European ancestry, and my friends believe that with effort, I could become attractive. You know, I'll just say quickly, apologies if this is like mean or racist. As I was reading the title in the first couple sentences, I actually assumed that this was a guy in India. And I don't say that to be condescending to like my Indian viewers and followers, but the dating scene there seems to be really fucked. Like, I could be completely wrong. I have no experience at all, or this is just a weird speculation. I can just, if I close my eyes, and you do this as well, close my eyes and like imagine what women are like in India, what the dating scene is like. I have a feeling that they're in like a hyper feminist season right now. Feminist, not in like feminine women, but feminist, like, you know, the women who almost like are angry and hateful towards men. And that would make dating extremely hard for these guys. I could imagine like these guys are maybe trying a cold approach or speaking to girls, and the girls are like, you know, pushing them back really aggressively. And also, you know, I will just say quickly, we should understand why that is. I'll help this guy in a second, but I just want to make a point here. If you feel like, you know, women are quite like resentful and aggressive towards men in this country particularly, and I actually ask you, can we blame them for that? Like, I think a lot of Indian girls are extremely disgusted and terrified by the men of their country. And most guys, 90% of men, are actually like stand-up citizens, don't commit crime, they work really hard, they don't complain, they have family. You get my point, right? They're just like normal guys, whatever. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is just because I don't want to particularly tell you details, but I feel like I should, but this might gross you out. So I'm going to give you like a weird trigger warning here. If you want to skip ahead a few minutes and you don't want to hear some gross thing, just because this might make you think about something that's disgusting and really horrible. I remember seeing on the news a few years ago of a gang rape that happened in India, where a woman went onto the bus after work or something, and it was like nighttime, and there was like 4 or 5 guys on the bus, including the driver, who ended up just grabbing this girl and gang raping her. And they didn't just fuck this girl, they brutalized her. I remember reading some of the details. And again, like, skip forward if you don't want to hear this, but I just for the guys who for some reason feel like you need to hear this, the reason, you know, I'm telling you this because I want you to understand why a lot of women might be quite aggressive and hostile towards men. Because you've got to think the women from India, once they heard this story with the details I'm about to tell you, they would be fucking outraged, and it'd be so easy to start blaming all men for this. I remember reading on the news that these guys didn't just rape this girl, they stuck things inside of her. They like ripped her intestines out. They got like a metal crowbar or something and like raped her with that. All like the big group of guys, like the bus driver was just driving them around whilst it was happening, and eventually they just killed her and like left her somewhere. I don't know what happened after that story. Maybe someone can like link an article or tell me like what happened. The guys got arrested or whatever. But unfortunately, things like that are actually not super rare in India and in many countries. And when something like that happens, you can imagine the outrage that the women of that country have. I think I remember that there was like huge protests or something like that, you know, like huge outcries from women in that country because they feel quite unsafe. And yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up. I know that's a weird point here. But it's got nothing to do with this guy who's asked, of course. But sometimes it can be valuable for your journey when it comes to dating and thinking about girls, especially if you live in a country where a lot of the women there have this kind of fear and, you know, they've heard these stories. For you to know what they're going through, for you to know what like a girl in your country is thinking about. Are girls in your country like worried about, you know, men being rapists or whatever? Because most girls in a lot of Western countries, they're actually not, honestly. Like you have seen some things on social media or something, but really, like in the UK, girls, like, you know, my old female friends in university and stuff, they'd all go out dressed slutty, zero thoughts about anything. They'd get drunk, fall over in the streets. They had no anxiety, no spatial awareness. Like if I would go out with like my group, like I was me and the girl that I was seeing, and then, you know, a couple of my friends, a couple of the girlfriends and stuff. I was like always the one who was more aware, and I almost was baffled of like how unaware a lot of these girls were in the UK. Like in the UK, there isn't really like a rape culture or anything. Like, you know, girls are scared of this, so they go out drunk, take drugs, fall over, wearing dresses. Guys are of course like staring at them, and some guys will be like rapey and grabby and whatever. But like girls aren't necessarily like that scared, at least from like the sort of party environment that I was in back then. But maybe you live in a country or a city where there is that kind of hostility between the sexes. And it is your advantage to understand why and to be empathetic about that. Because if you can feel the fear that these women might have, then you're able to think like, oh yeah, like that's maybe something I need to show more of a, I don't know, a comforting, safe side. In fact, with a lot of the girls I've had who have really, really liked me and respected me and like really loved me, a lot of them have actually said the same thing, which is, it's actually a compliment, yeah, I've gotten quite a few times, which is like, they feel very safe with me. And maybe I don't know exactly how maybe they interpreted that. Maybe it was like physically safe if we're walking out or whatever, and, you know, there's some guy there or something. But I don't think it was that, because a lot of the time it was just like being home indoors. It was that I never gave the girl like the ick or that kind of feel. You get what I mean, right? So I know it's off topic for this video. I just felt like explaining that here because he mentioned India, and when I read the title of this video, the idea of like an Indian guy getting friend zoned came up in my mind, and that's basically exactly what's happened here. It seems to me that there's quite a lot of countries, but India in specific, where since the women are quite hostile and quite like rejecting and quite fearful and aggressive towards the men there, and I don't mean aggressive in that sense, but, you know, like as a self-protection mechanism, that then the guys are in a very tricky place, because for you to feel like a kind of a masculine, sexy guy, you have to be kind of like upfront with your intentions. Like the guy who ends up pounding like one of these girls the first night he's met her is the one who was sexually forward. But if you're going sexually forward in a country or a city where there's like this fear in the women, then you can be, you know, like called out and whatever. It's kind of like going to one of those gyms where you've probably seen it online, where like a girl's recording in the gym and then she starts shouting at the guy for like staring at her or something, or, you know, speaking to her like, can you just leave me alone, whatever. If you go to that kind of gym, it's like you wouldn't want to cold approach one of the girls in the gym. But the way that you'll fuck one of the girls at the gym, or you'll end up dating or falling in love with them, is by talking to them. So it puts like this entire, like, I don't know, 1 billion or 500 million men in this country in a very tricky position, because how are they supposed to go up and do what is expected of them, which is to go up and speak to the woman with some courage, if that gets shot down so heavily? It's a lose-lose situation. Yeah, I just wanted to explain that, because it is tricky. So he goes on to say, I live in India and have some European ancestry, and my friends believe that with effort I could become attractive. With just 4 months left until school ends, I'm eager to know how I can win her over. I would greatly appreciate any advice or resources on this topic. So what comes to mind right now that Elton could benefit from, and if you're watching this like on YouTube, and there's been this one girl since like this year or last year that you've been thinking about, and you know she's held your eye contact a couple of times and you're unsure if she likes you or not. I wish you had an older brother or like a masculine role model, maybe it's me, who could slap some sense into you and tell you that you're acting like a bitch. You're acting like a complete and utter pussy. And I don't say that to be offensive or to be disrespectful, but rather as like a slap in the face to bring you back into reality and tell you like, this is how you want to be spending like your valuable time, your thoughts. Obsessing, and you'll think it's not obsessing, but it is. Obsessing over a girl who clearly doesn't really want you. I want to give you the new principle, the new guidebook to your dating and sex life. And you might not accept this now, but at some point you will. At some point, what I'm about to say, you will implement this for basically the rest of your life. So hopefully you can just implement this now to save yourself from more pain for the next few months whilst you like procrastinate on taking this advice. And the advice is to only consider girls who actually like you. That's it. That's the jaw-dropping advice that would save so many men from so much time wasted and heartbreak. Choose a woman who chooses you. If you're unsure if she's chose you, she probably hasn't. The signs are obvious, and we can talk about, what's the 6 signs that you go on the fucking main channel, right? The 6 signs that a girl is into you. Number 1. She makes eye. Number 2, she says yes when you ask her out on a date, right? Now he said, okay, yeah, she held my eye contact. Okay, nice. How about we don't waste our time? You walk up to her and you say to her, I want to take you out on a date. Are you free on Friday? That's it. You say that. If she says no, then you've got your answer. Getting signs and kind of flags, like green flags from a girl, not in the sense of her quality, but you know, in that she's like receptive to you. Getting signs that she's into you, she smiles, she's eye contact. Okay, that's all nice, but they're kind of like secondary. The primary thing to figure out if a girl likes you and you should spend any amount of time thinking about her is to literally just ask her out on a date or to hang out with you. That's it. As soon as you've done that, you know. And it can suck if she says no, but at least you can remind yourself, oh man, it's painful, but fair enough. That's it. But you do, like, this is what blows my mind about some of these young guys, and this was me as well. Some guys will spend years, months, thinking about a girl that they've not even asked out. Just shoot your shot. I know it sounds like scary, right, to text her. The reason why it sounds scary is because you kind of know in your heart that she's actually not into you. I'm going to tell you something now, and it's going to require me to expose myself, but if you've watched my main channel, you probably know this. Since I was like 17 years old, and then it took me a few years, but like since I was about 19, I was like the guy that these girls are going to. I've lived a very interesting life where I've had the normal life that most guys have had, where like girls not really into me, you know, I'm texting them, they're not replying, whatever. And then I've had like basically easy mode with the girls that I've wanted, to the point that like my problem is like fucking too much. My problem, like that's the thing I need discipline for, is to like tame that side of me down. Now you can think I'm boasting, whatever. If that's you, click off this video. But hopefully you can think, oh shit, yeah, fair enough. Maybe Hamza can give some interesting insight here. And the insight is having experience being the guy who basically the girls don't want and the guy who the girls want. Because, you know, most guys have only had one, right? Like when you see a guy who's like a Chad, he's always been kind of attractive towards girls and stuff. And when you see a guy who's a bit of a loser, virgin, he's always been the guy who like doesn't get the girls. It's a rare experience for you to see someone who's went 0 to 100. And I'm telling you right now, when a woman wants you, there is no second thought in your mind. Because not only because it's so clear, you know, she's telling you she wants you and she's like practically fucking asking you out, begging you to meet you, whatever. But also because of the way you feel around her, you don't feel the need to ask for advice. So I actually really, like, I genuinely enjoy talking about this topic. That's why, like, just as a side note, a lot of my videos on YouTube and stuff is usually about dating, and people ask me why. Like, why do you keep talking about dating? Why not, like, just self-improvement? Because for me, when I was about 18, 19, 20, this was the number one topic that, like, what consumed my mind. I can tell you, yeah, bro, just focus on yourself, bro. But, like, 90% of my thoughts were about this. Because when you are, like, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you have such a big desire for sex, for love, for intimacy. And those things definitely still carry on in your mid-20s, late, whatever, like, all life, really. But particularly when you're still going through puberty and you're quite young, and maybe you haven't been, like, away from porn for that much, you have like such a huge desire for this. So that's why I love talking about this topic. But here's the thing, right? So this post is from this guy who's, you know, asking us, like, this girl doesn't really find him attractive. If you have to write a post like this, you already know your answer. So I don't want to push people away who ask me for dating advice, because I think it's awesome that a young man can just, you know, with some courage, say this online and ask me for what my opinion is and get me to make a video like this. So I don't mean to stop anyone from doing that. But this is the brutal truth. If you have to, like, ask other people, like, guys, do you think she likes me? Chances are she just doesn't. And then now this can hurt and you can think, oh, but you know, there's still a chance, there's still this, there's still this. But you need to understand that there isn't actually a scarcity of these women. There really isn't. There just is in your life. So there's two things you can do. You can continue having an experience of life, dating and sex like this, where you are like this sort of like Jeff, like you're seen as the beta. I don't mean to, you know, like, it's a cringe term, beta alpha, but it perfectly encapsulates this. You're seen as like the guy who, like, she's replying to your text messages, not because she wants to suck your dick, but because she just likes getting another text notification and she doesn't want to be rude to you. You might not believe this, but girls like giving head. Like, girls like fucking, like, giving guac 3000. Girls like getting pounded. Even your girl, like your like princess that you think is like a 10 out of 10 or whatever, she likes making like animal noises when she's getting absolutely railed. Now, if you're not seeing that side of her, that doesn't mean that that's not who she is. It just means that she's categorized you in like the chump category. And you want to stay in that category longer, go ahead. But I'd ask you right now, if you relate to the title of this video, like, oh, I'm attracted to this girl, but she doesn't really like me back. Just ask yourself this question. Does this feel good for you? Like, aren't you like quite anxious and quite annoyed? Like, you know, you're going through your day in those micro moments, which could be enjoyable. You know, you're like just getting ready for the gym, earphones on, whatever. And you get another thought of like, oh, she still hasn't replied. Or, oh, she left me on scene, but maybe she'll reply later. Like, that shit's cancer. That's like a slow dripping poison in your life. You should only, in my opinion, have women in your life that don't make you feel like that. Like, the chaos and the negativity that comes from a woman, in my opinion, should be all about just like the sort of feminine energy, sometimes the nervousness and the anxiety that they have. Like, for example, I had a girl a stunning girl, beautiful girl, who literally would say to me like, oh, I'm scared of you. And I was like, why? And she went like, oh, because you're like everything I've wanted, and you know, you could really hurt me. That's like, it's a bit of a negative sentence, right? But do you see how there's a sweet side to that? There's a sweet, vulnerable side. That's like the sort of negative conversation, negative thought, or like, you know, time that you want to have with a woman is like her feminine energy. Or for example, like, you have been a bit more detached. Let's say this is like your cute little feminine girlfriend, and you haven't texted her all day or something, and then she's anxious and she's asking like, where were you? Did you cheat on me or something? a lot of guys, like quite feminine guys, they'll be quite pissed off at that. You know, it's like gossipy, fighting behavior. But if you're like a masculine guy, you've been watching like a bunch of this kind of content, you've been learning more about what masculinity is, you'll find that kind of endearing. You'll make her feel better. You say, no, of course not, baby. Come here. Like, you know, I've just been super busy, but you're so right. I should have texted you more. Yeah, and like, let's call later, whatever. You know, you make her feel good, right? That's the kind of chaos, negative kind of energy. And it's not negative, but you get my point. It's just like how it makes us feel, right? It's not a particularly positive feeling when a girl says this to you. That's like the negative feelings in a relationship, love life, sex life that I think are actually quite nice and beneficial. This thing of like, oh, she hasn't texted me back, she doesn't like me, she doesn't this. That's you and your feminine. That's you obsessed over the girl, whilst she's usually obsessed over two things, and you know what they are, right? When you're in this situation, you know you're obsessed over her, and you know she's not obsessed with you. You'd know it if she was, right? What is she obsessed over? You know that there's two options. You already know what they are, don't you? Think about in your mind, what are the two things she could be obsessed over? Because she's in her masculine. So either she's pursuing another guy, or she's pursuing her work, her craft, her studies. And again, I just want to ask you, does this satisfy you? Do you like being in this dynamic where you're interested and you're basically like chasing a girl who's chasing something else? If you're so happy in this dynamic, first of all, you wouldn't write a post like this, right? You wouldn't be wondering this. You wouldn't be watching this kind of video because you wouldn't see it as a problem. But if you were happy like this, then by all means, go ahead. This advice that I want to give to you is, if you're watching this, is if you're not happy with that, if you could click your fingers, you'd prefer it the other way around. You'd like it if she was basically always more available for you, if you were more busy than she was. And now this is going to sound toxic, and I know like a lot of people won't understand this, but again, I'm just going to tell you, like, from my experience, what may be the better dynamic. It's where the girl is more into you than you are into her. People who live in like this Disney fairy tale, maybe you'll see some in the comments, no offense, but you'll see some people say like, nope, it should be that you and her are exactly the same and you love each other the same. With a rational mind, like anyone with a logical fucking intelligent mind will just say like, that's not very practical. You can't, like, how you know, specific is that you love each other the exact same amount? It's like a wishful fairy tale thinking. But in general, one person is always going to be more interested in the other person. Doesn't mean that both people aren't interested in each other, but one person is going to care more and emotionally invest more. It feels more natural to me where the woman invests more into the guy. That just seems more natural. The guy, if he is more masculine, spends a lot of time thinking about his work, his craft, his mission. The woman, if she's more feminine, she spends more time thinking about love, which may be her family, but ultimately is usually also her romantic relationship. I'll also, I'll answer a question here, which I've gotten before, which is like, why should you listen to me when I'm not in a relationship right now, and I'm not like, I've had like multiple girlfriends whilst being a YouTuber over the last 4 years, and I got a ton of backlash from my breakup earlier this year. And why should you listen to a guy who went through a breakup when it comes to dating advice? Because my skill, I'll always be honest to you, right? Anyone who watches me knows that I've never tried to hide from my mistakes. People think, like, I see some comments every now and then which say like, oh, Hamza's like so arrogant and he thinks he's amazing. I'm like, what? In every single video, I literally tell you of all the mistakes that I've made. Like, think about that. Every single video, it's like usually there's Jeffrey Adonis and it's a story of how I fucked up. So it's like, I know what my mistakes and my weaknesses are, right? So it's definitely not a strength of mine to be in like a long-term relationship. I know that. You probably know that. If you're watching me thinking, oh yeah, he said this about his relationship. Oh, he broke up with this girl. He had a different girl a year ago. He had a different girl, like girlfriends and stuff, right? And that's probably not a good sign. So that's definitely a weak point of mine. But when it comes to attracting girls, when it comes to making girls want to fuck you, holy shit, I am very good at that. I'm so good at that now it's a distraction, that now it's one of the biggest distractions of my life, is that like every single day I'm tempted by women I could bring here right now. That's like the problem. And people will say, oh, Kobar, curry cell, whatever. If you've watched me for a while, you know I'm brutally honest, right? I would tell you right now, oh yeah, bro, I don't have any girls or anything. I would tell you the truth. But that's the reason why I think my advice when it comes to attraction should be listened to. My advice in like a deep relationship, you know, a compatible long-term relationship, yeah, probably don't listen to me for that, because I'm not amazing at that. I'm still, you know, like making a lot of mistakes and everything. But when it comes to just getting a girl wanting to fuck you, that's where my strength lies. I'm telling you right now that this situation that Elton is in, and you may be in as well, from my experience, it's not a situation that you want to continue. It's very unlikely that this girl is going to end up like actually wanting this guy. There's only one way that I personally have ever seen happen, where, for example, you've been friend zoned, but the girl later comes and actually sees you as more of this sort of alpha guy. In fact, let me just explain this to you, right? Let me explain this fully. Women, and disclaimer, what I'm about to say, women might disagree with, but again, you don't listen to women and what they say that they want. You listen to the guy who understands what they want, if that makes sense. I know it sounds like sexist, whatever, but it is definitely true. What women want is to fulfill two categories in their dating and sex life. There is the alpha fucks, AF. Alpha fucks, like alpha male fucks. I know alpha male sounds cringe, but it just, the terminology just really works, right? That's where she sees you as a high status guy, and she wants to fuck you just to fuck you, just because she literally craves the pleasure and the feelings that you give her. The other category is beta bucks. That's where she doesn't see you as like the alpha male, the high value, attractive guy, the sexually attractive guy, but rather she's still somewhat a little bit into you, but she is into you more for what you can provide. She's into you more for the fact that you might be able to like take her out on dates and take her to dinner and you know, be more of like a comfortable boyfriend, husband. Do you see that there's kind of two versions of like the man that these women want? They want the guy to just fuck. The sexually attractive guy with the six-pack, the nice hair that they just flirt with, and they just want him for him. If that isn't you, you'll know, because she won't fuck you. It's that simple, right? If you've been talking to a girl for like a couple of days, maybe you've met her in person 1, maybe 2 times, and she hasn't like clawed at you to fuck you, you're not in the alpha fucks category. The modern world and basically everyone else, even people maybe even in the comments, will tell you that that's okay. And being in the beta category, they won't call it beta, they'll say this term is like toxic or cringe, but they'll tell you like being the guy who provides is like really cute and everything. Providing for your wife and your children, sure, but providing for some random girl you've just fucking met and taken her out to dinner and stuff, that's a bit fucking lame, right? Because think about it, what does she want? If she sees you as more sexually attractive than she sees herself, she'll want to fuck you with no strings attached. And maybe the string is attached, you know, in the sense that she wants a relationship as well, whatever. But like, you know, because she thinks you're a nice guy and like a attractive guy. But she wants you for you, like you bare naked in the flesh. That's what she wants. That's a really good dynamic to be in. Because if you don't want to be a degenerate, and this is the dynamic, and you start showing some of your more husband traits, like you're a kind guy, you're stable, you make good money, whatever, then she's thinking like, holy shit, this guy is like the full package. This is everything that I've wanted in a guy. Awesome. She's sexually like an animal with you. She almost begs you to fuck her, which I know you're thinking like, oh yeah, that phrase, like begs to fuck, girls aren't like that. I'm telling you right now, girls are like that. Any guy in the comments right now, if the guys who actually are good at fucking and convince, like making girls want to fuck them, they'll all comment below and be like, yeah, guys, like girls beg for sex. Girl, like it's not as rare as you think. Yeah, for you it is. No offense, no offense, but a lot of girls will literally beg and claw at the guy that they want. They'll genuinely like drive over 20, 30 minutes just to deep throat him and then go back home after that. Girls like that, like that's when the dynamic is like this. Like she just sees you as a sexually attractive guy. When she doesn't see you as sexually attractive, that's when like just fucking you isn't enough. Like she doesn't feel like there's a fair trade because, you know, she's giving her sort of body to you as well. So then she wants you to provide in other ways. So that's when, like, you know, your potential to be like more of a husband trait and taking her out to, you know, when girls are like, oh, well, you've got to take me out to dinner first and everything. That's when those sides are more required to skew the value discrepancy between you and her. So you just need to ask yourself the question right now, which category do you want to be in? Now, there'll be people who'll try and not play this game and say like, oh, but you know, it's not about the categories, just be yourself, just get a girl who loves you, whatever. But I'm telling you, like, this is a good way to categorize and to see, okay, how has this woman categorized you into her mind? Does she see you as like this sex icon that turns her on and turns on the animal side to herself? Or does she see you as like the potential safe guy that she might eventually have sex with, but you kind of know how that goes. She'll be more likely to cheat. Sex will be like less passionate. She'll be more restrained, saying no more often. You know the guys who are all like married and then they get like a hand job once every 3 months or something, and they've got like a dead bedroom and everything, right? You probably don't want that, right? If you're watching this video this far, you probably would want her animal mode on. And you might say, oh, well, you know, I'm religious and stuff. Even with that, you'd still want it, right? Like, you don't need to fuck. That's the thing. You don't actually need to have sex with these girls. But you want her desire, right? You want her to desire you sexually. Don't lie. Like it's so easy. Like, guys get into this such cope bullshit of saying like, oh, well, I don't really care and stuff or whatever. But you want her to desire you sexually, yes or no? If yes, that's what you need to be optimizing for. And when you have a girl who has not categorized you in that sort of alpha fox category, and she doesn't desire you sexually, you need to accept that and think, okay, well, my only option is to be like the sort of beta overthinker. Like, I'll give you another bit of advice, right? You need to listen to your feelings a bit more. You know how we kind of shit on feelings as guys, like, oh yeah, masculine guys, we don't care about feelings. But sometimes your feelings can actually be a really good indicator of your values. You know, when you're feeling texture, people say like, oh, nothing is good or bad unless you think about it, whatever. But you know how there's like a certain feeling texture that doesn't feel good, it feels bad, right? So it's sadness and guilt, whatever. Like, there's times where you feel bad because of what a girl's done. She hasn't replied, or she like walks into the gym but she doesn't even say hello to you. It's those kinds of things. You feel bad, right? You should understand that if that is how this girl makes you feel, that's your own nervous system, your own body telling you like, oh, we're not compatible with this girl. Wishing psychologically more for this girl in your life, trying to bring her in, is insanity. She already doesn't make you feel good, so you think that giving her more emotional commitment and falling more in love with her is going to help. No, it's going to make this worse. Let's say, okay, right now you've not even kissed this girl. You've not even had sex with her. And already you're getting this negative feeling of the way that she displays love to you, of the way that she's categorized you as a chump. It's not going to get better from here when you fall more in love with her. It's going to hurt more. Why not just listen to your feelings here? Because think about how good your feelings are going to be when a girl has categorized you in that sort of fuck category. She desires you sexually. She walks into the gym proper happy, gives you the biggest hug, touches your muscles or something. She texts you fast. She asks to call you all the time. She texts you like cute, sexy things. And let's say, again, you guys could even be religious. You're going to wait till marriage, right? Let's say something like quite strict, okay? You're going to wait till marriage. Even then, you'd want her to sexually desire you, but say like, oh, I really want to have sex with you, but we have to wait. I would feel so guilty. It's like, that's okay, fair enough. It's like, she's really into you, she desires you, but she's like, able to say like, oh no, but my father, like, oh, I'd be disappointed in my religion. Okay, fair enough, but the desire is there. What you don't want is to negotiate. What you don't want is like a budgeting. What this this situation that Elton is describing, where basically he's kind of like friend zoned with this girl, but without a lot of the friendship. But, you know, he wants her, she doesn't really want him. Best case scenario, let's say that I teach Elton exactly what to say to make this girl just slightly want him more. Best case scenario, he's gonna have like a dead bedroom relationship because this girl doesn't sexually desire him. There's a small chance she ends up fucking him if, you know, he becomes more of a boyfriend, whatever. And right now he might be watching this thinking, oh wait, there's a chance. But here's the thing, that relationship would just make you feel horrible. If you feel bad when you're first talking to a girl because of the way that she, you know, takes a long time to reply, whatever, you're not going to feel better once you care about her more. You've got to get this into your mind. And like, a lot of guys need to just go back to just like being simple and thinking, oh yeah, I don't like her because I don't really feel good when I talk to her. That's it. Like, you know, almost pretend you're like a simpleton, and it can really help you in dating. Oh, I don't really like that girl because she doesn't really like me and she doesn't want to go on a date with me. There we go, problem solved. You've just saved 1 year of your life. Elton mentioned in this post, he said, a memorable moment was when she asked me if I had a date for Valentine's Day in 2023. So that was 1.5 years ago, and he said that's a memorable moment. Not even that she asked him out, not even that they went on a Valentine's date together, but just the fact that she asked him if he had a date for it. You could say that's showing a bit of interest, fine, but it's also just like casual small talk of like, oh, are you going out for your birthday? Oh, what are you going to do for Halloween? Oh, do you have a date for Valentine's Day? And this is him literally, like, he's literally wrote this on a post 1.5 years later. There's a term that the guy who's asked me for this advice, and if you're watching this far, that you need to know. And it's called one-itis. One-itis. So you write this out just so you can spell it. O-N-E-I-T-I-S. One-itis. And it's this idea that a lot of guys will get one-itis for the girl that they've become obsessed over. That's when you keep like this one girl in your mind. She's everything. She's like the thing that's on your mind. You're not really thinking much else about other girls. And you've started to convince yourself like, this is the girl, this is the one that I want to be with. Now, if you're already married, if you've got children and stuff, okay, fine. You know, you're married and you don't believe in divorce and splitting. Okay, fair enough. This is your one. You've got to, fine. But if you're not at that point and you're just a young guy and you're just texting this girl, or you're just walking past her in school or something, to think that she's the only girl out there is really foolish. I'm going to give you a brutal reality check of modern dating, and it's going to sound quite degenerate, and I'm sure people will disagree with this. But particularly as a guy, it actually serves you to not just talk to one girl at once. For girls, I think it serves them to talk to one guy at once, especially if the guy has got like, you know, considerable good traits to be like a husband, quality guy, father for her children. It makes sense for a girl to sort of keep her experiences of men limited, because men value like purity in a woman. Women will lie to you and say that they value purity in men, but what they actually are more likely to like suck and fuck and respect a man for is not the man who's like, you know, so pure, he's a virgin, he's never even talked to a girl, so he's autistic and shy. They actually value a guy who's experienced. So again, women will lie to you and say, nope, this isn't true, but it is. It absolutely is. They'll say like, oh no, but I'm a virgin and I want a virgin too. They don't. I'm just telling you right now, this is how it is. It's the experienced man that's attractive, and it's the inexperienced woman that's attractive. The experienced man, if he's like, you know, been a whore and he's got STDs, yeah, of course, that's not attractive. But you get what I mean. He knows how to charm. He knows how to flirt. Maybe he's had sex with a bunch of girls as well, but he's kind of like, you know, kept that like kind of low now. He's not like doing it as much. Girls will literally say to you like, oh, that's not attractive. Oh, I don't want a guy like that. But they keep fucking guys like that. They keep going for guys like that. I have girls who have said this to me like, oh, well, you know, that part of you is not attractive. Like, you know, the more like wholesome part of you that isn't talking to more girls is attractive. But these are the same girls who will literally like they'll fuck me more when they know that I have more girls in my life. This is just a blatant blatant fact, and it's like one of those brutal red pills, which is like the world and women will basically shit test you and lie to you and tell you like this is what they want. They want a guy who's like women will almost lie to you and say like, oh, they want you to like, you know, be a virgin and not know how to talk to girls because it's so sweet. But if you're like that, then they won't want to fuck you because they're all getting clapped by the guys who know how to flirt with them well. Do you see the like the sort of paradigm, like the I don't know, the hypocritical like lie there? It serves you to talk to more than one girl at once. It doesn't serve a woman to talk to more than one guy at once. You'll be thinking, wait, how does that make sense? Well, there doesn't need to be a worldwide 1-to-1 ratio of man to woman. There's lots of guys who aren't dating at all. You get my point, right? But just for you personally, it doesn't make sense for you keeping some random girl in your mind for like months or years who isn't even your girlfriend, your wife. What would have helped Elton in this situation, and you, if you feel like you've been friend zoned, is imagine you were also speaking to and kind of flirting with another girl here, then you cold approached this girl, then you went to, I don't know, like some social event and you spoke to this girl and this one and this one. Then imagine you had like 5 little, like, you know, kind of like relationships, talking stages, whatever. And then you thought, wait, this girl is so consistent. This girl's so sweet. She wants the call. She likes me, she's beautiful. Do you see how like options is actually really powerful and attractive for guys, but not for women? Like, think about this. If a girl said to you, oh, she's got options, she's got other guys texting her, that's not attractive, that's kind of repulsive. If a girl acted like that with you, which most girls do, like they've got other guys, it's not attractive as a guy, is it? Like if a girl doesn't reply fast, that's not attractive, right? But you've always known, you've always seen like those dating videos, all of them say the same thing, which is true. Like, you know, the guy who's busy, the guy who's not texting back, the guy who's living a busy life, and sometimes he doesn't reply fast and everything. You've always seen that kind of advice is given to guys because it actually works to increase the attractiveness that a girl has for you. Why? Because it symbolizes that you have other options. You don't have one-itis, like this idea that this is just the one girl in your life. So again, it's like women will lie to you and say that they don't want a guy who's talking to multiple girls, but that's exactly who they'll be more into. You've never ever listened to like the words that someone says. Listen to their actions. See where the blowjobs are happening. Like, forgive my vulgarity there, but see which guys are getting their dick sucked. Is it the guy who's like a little virgin and he's just obsessed over the same girl for 1.5 years? Or is it the guy who's also talking to like 20 other girls, including your girl that you've convinced yourself is like a wife quality girl, but she was just a one-night stand for this other guy? Which one do you want to be? Imagine that was the option. This is just a weird point, but imagine that was the option. You can have one-itis and be friend-zoned by your dream girl for 1.5 years. Or you're just the casual sex guy who pounds her a few times. So I'm giving you like almost a worst case scenario of both options, right? You're the friend-zoned guy, okay, not cool, but also you're kind of like the degenerate guy who just pounds her, but she doesn't want a relationship with you, but she'll come over just to suck your dick. Basically, all guys will say that one, right? So you actually know what you'd rather want. And again, you don't have to be a degenerate for this. You don't have to actually have sex with these girls, but you've got to know that you actually just admit it to yourself. You want a woman who sexually desires you. Now the question we should be asking ourselves is, okay, in this situation where a girl has friend zoned you and she's not really into you, can you make her sexually desire you? And there's only one way that I've ever seen work for me and for other people. So this is when you already know this girl from like school or something, and you've tried to like date her, but she's kind of pushed you away. The only way to actually get her is to basically forget about her, go harder on your self-improvement journey, go through maybe a bit of like an anger stage where you're in the gym thinking like, yeah, fuck that girl, and you're hitting some reps. I know that sounds toxic, but that's what I always see happen for the guys who eventually sort of come out into the light. And through your big period of learning and growing and this kind of more of this sort of like, this like sexual mindset, which was like weirdly stomped out of you as like a natural human being, eventually when you see her, it's kind of like you get a bit of a blank slate. you could find yourself acting exactly like how you did previously because she has like a stronger sort of frame onto you and she pulls you back into the guy that you were previously. But if you're able to hold like the new frame, imagine it's been like 6 months, you've been going hard in the gym, you've been talking to other girls, you've been way more confident, business is going well, physique looks sick, good male friends hyping you up and stuff, and then you see the same girl again. And imagine you've been like watching videos like this where you're getting a bit more of this sort of high level dating advice and you come across it as like way more charming and attractive and sexually attractive. That's when it can trigger for her and she wants to fuck you more. I'll tell you a story to end off. Apologies, my throat's getting really dry. When I started university when I was like 18 years old, and there was a girl that I wanted to be with. She was beautiful Greek girl. And I was like this, I was a virgin as well, so I hadn't even had sex with a girl. I'd done like some sexual things, like nothing oral, but you know, like like girls had like jacked me off a little bit like that, right? So basically no experience yet. And this beautiful girl, on one of the first days of university, she asked me if I want to come out on a night out with her and her friends. And she asked like my friend who I'm sat with as well. And we say yes. And then later on when she texts me and she's, hang on, I'm going to go get some water, one sec. My throat is so dry. Okay. So she texts me later on and she's like, oh yeah, if it's gonna be a problem for you to get the train, because I was living at home and everyone else was like living in the city that our university was on, she said, well, I can just sleep at her place. I remember my heart beating fast when I got that text, because I had built up this image in my mind that like, oh, this is the place where like, you know, like people in university, they go and they fuck and everything. She wants me to fuck. I screenshot the text, sent it to my friend. He's like, oh yeah, bro, you're definitely in. Here's, you know, what you can do, whatever. So it was like awesome. You know, I was feeling so confident, so happy. I end up going out with this girl, but just through my actions of being inexperienced, I wasn't attracted. Like basically what happened was I didn't kiss her in the nightclub, felt really tense, whatever, wasn't breathing. We leave the club and we're about to get an Uber back to her place, and when we sat down, that's when me and her start making out again. My heart's going fast, right? Get into the taxi, go back to her place. My friend leaves, he's gonna go link with this other girl. So it's me, this girl that I want to get with, and then her friend, her Spanish friend. So this is like some international like student course, like it's psychology, that's what I studied in uni, but I don't know, we had a lot of international students. And basically we end up in the same bed, me and these two girls. I'm on the far side. I'm not even like thinking about the threesome. I know you're probably thinking, oh, he had a threesome or something, but I wasn't thinking about the Spanish girl. I just wanted my girl there. So we're in the bed, we start kissing more, start like, you know, like feeling and everything. Okay, sweet, my heart's beating super fucking fast, and I tell her like, let's go into the living room because her friend's sleeping right next to us. We go there, but again, I'm inexperienced. I don't know what the fuck to do. This is a tense moment for me. And so that comes out in my mannerisms. I look like a scared little boy. I've watched so much porn at this point. You know, I was 18 years old, right? And I've never even like had sex. I've never had my dick sucked at this point. So she starts kind of riding me a little bit. Like I'm not even having sex, we're fully clothed, but she's just like, you know, I put her on top of me. And my dick's just fully floppy, fully like tiny fucking like cock, right? You know, when you're like kind of anxious and everything, right? To the point that I just say to her like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do, I can't do this. When girls tell you like, oh yeah, I want a guy who hasn't been with many girls, like that's the reality of it, right? Like what they want is the fairy tale. They want like the superhero who's never been with many girls, but he just suddenly knows how to pound, and his dick is massive and he can last forever, and he knows how to go down on a girl. Like that's what the fairy tale that these women will say that they like, you know, will think that they want. But in reality, the guy with no experience, that's what it is. And other guys who are like kind of like my age, you can go write your story down, and I bet there'll be like so many comments of guys saying like, oh yeah, like similar thing. Oh, this girl wanted me, we went on a date, and then I fucked it up. I said some stupid shit when I was younger, right? So that was just the story of me just being like this, like, you know, quite like inexperienced guy. I was 18 years old, whatever. So then I was in this situation where after this, we were in the same course, like we were studying the same subject in the same lectures and stuff. For the entire next year, I basically had like a crush on her, and I would think about her and I would want to be with her, but I just didn't really, I was just awkward, I was inexperienced, and I'd be like sometimes texting her and she wouldn't reply fast, or we'd be sat in lectures and I'd hear her kind of talk to her friends about other guys that she was seeing, and that shit would hurt. And it was just, I wish someone just like looked at me and said like, bro, like she's not sexually into you, like that was it, like maybe you had a chance, but like she's just not into you, right? And it was only when I took the advice online, which was like, oh yeah, create distance and go level up, that's when I disappeared. I stopped texting her. I stopped sitting next to her like a little simp. And she actually texted me and she's like, oh, hey, what's up with you? Like, I haven't seen you for a while. And I could have actually made that work, but I was still, again, this inexperienced guy. So when she texted me that, I broke the frame and I was like, oh, well, I really like you, whatever. And she basically just ghosted me. It was awkward, whatever. Fast forward 1 year. I had then had my first ever like proper girlfriend who I loved, and I genuinely thought like I would be with her, but then the relationship didn't work out, and of course I had sex with her. After that, I went into more of the degeneracy thing, and I started to pound, like I started to fuck girl after girl. So I was like 19 at the time. So this girl, the girl that we're talking about, she knew me as like this little virgin guy, but that was kind of attractive, right? Suddenly, the next time that we kind of speak, I had fucked like 10 girls. So I went from 0 to like 10 in like 2-3 months of like the new year of university. So now I was in like the second year of my university. This was like technically first year because I had like a foundation year before it, but yeah. And then I end up messaging her and telling her that a group of us are all gonna go out from our course to a night out. And she's grateful for the invite, and she comes out and she's looking sexy, beautiful. But when I saw her that night, after I had like 2-3 girls, like girlfriends that I was basically routinely fucking, plus new girls that I was going out with. Again, this is degenerate, you don't need to follow this, but I'm just telling you the story for example's sake, right? Now imagine my energy towards this girl. Do you think I still had like little virgin energy where I was like, my heart was fast and stuff? No, like I actually humanized her. I realized like she wasn't really all that. She was a pretty girl, sure, but like I had pretty girls. The girlfriend that I had, like the first ever girlfriend, so when I was 19 years old, she was stunning, she was beautiful, she was really high quality as well. And all these other girls, like I had like 2-3 girlfriends at this point at the same time, right? So like I was living like this fucking like Chad playboy lifestyle. So I was like, yeah, I didn't even treat her with a pedestal or anything. We go out onto this second night out. Oh, this night out in like the second 1 year later from the first point. And I could see that she wanted me bad. And I knew that I could fuck her in this night. And I planned to. The only reason why I didn't is because there was a more attractive girl who wanted me more. And so I got with her instead. And I did not even regret it for a second, thinking like, oh, I didn't fuck that girl. Even to the point where I didn't even message this girl that we're talking about again, trying to like, set it up for tomorrow or anything. She was just so like not important in my mind. The lesson of the story is like experience, even if it's like degenerate, it is attractive to girls. They'll lie to you and tell you it's not. Just bear this in mind. But when girls tell you they want like a guy who hasn't fucked, who isn't like, like doesn't have loads of girls, they want the fairy tale of a guy who hasn't had these experiences but just has the skill already. You can imagine the Disney movie, like the brain rot that a lot of women have been through. They want you to have the skill of like, being calm and comfortable with women, knowing how to fuck well, knowing how to give them orgasm, knowing how to be charming and flirty. But they don't want you to have experienced much other experiences with girls. What I'll tell you from experience is like, women are actually into you more when you are talking to more girls. They'll complain about it and they'll tell you like, no, that's not true, it's not true. There'll be a girl in the comments saying like, no, it's not true, like if I saw a guy who was talking to multiple girls, I wouldn't be into him. I'm just telling you, like, it's often not the case. What Elton needs to do in this situation, and what you might need to do if you've watched this entire video, is to realize that for guys, it actually does serve you to get more experience and to have more options. And experience, I will say, like, previously I've told you, like, do you need experience with girls? And the thing is, you don't. You actually don't need it. Can it be beneficial? Well, it depends what your goal is. What you don't want to do is think, okay, I just want to get my wife, but then go fuck some like degen girls, because that's not the real experience that you needed. So you need to figure out what your goal is. Because if you want to just get like a, casual couple of girls and stuff, maybe you just want to have sex, maybe that's not a good thing for you, maybe that's not healthy, but maybe that is what you're going to do with or without anyone's like moral guidance. And if that's the case, you may as well optimize for it so you actually do it well. Maybe that's bad advice, to be honest. I'm not too sure. Should I be helping guys kind of optimize better for fucking random girls, even though that's not going to be good for them? One of the problems, like the difficulties I have with this work is you go through like epiphanies and realizations in your development as a man. So for example, one of them is like, you first start off really valuing money and pussy. And then once you get those things, you realize that it's not actually what it's cracked up to be. Like you see a lot of these like male influencers are stuck in like boy psychology, like with shiny toys and making money and stuff. And that's like the most important thing in their life. It's like the only thing they care about. And once you achieve that, you kind of realize like it ain't all that. It really isn't all that. And people know this and people will comment this, right? But do I tell younger me, like younger me needed to get those things to get the realization? Does that make sense? So if I tell you like, oh yeah, don't make money, don't get girls, don't smash girls, that's the right advice, fine. But younger me would click off this video and go click on a different video. Do you see what like my difficulty in making these videos? I almost have to lead you down the same fucked up path that I went through so that we can get you out on the other side. It's kind of like if you've ever heard of this entrepreneur investor, his name's Naval Ravikant, like this billionaire guy, right? Really intelligent thinker. And he has a tweet that went super viral, which is titled like how to get rich without getting lucky, something like that. And you can go Google that if you want. It's super interesting to read. How to get rich without getting lucky, Naval Ravikant. And at the end of this like tweet storm, like these 20 tweets that he writes out, he says, by the end of this, you'll realize money was not what you wanted, but you need to like achieve it for yourself to realize this. What he's getting to is people are obsessed with the idea of making money, think it's going to solve their problems and it's going to be this magical thing. But once you make money, you realize it's basically just fucking, it's like nothing. It's like the only people who tell you money is like, oh, like the rich, successful people who are like, oh yeah, oh bro, you need to make money, are the guys who sell you a money program, right? But it's like, it isn't all that, bro. Yeah, sure, making a few thousand a month, 5, 10K, sure. You get my point, right? And it's the same with pussy. Like pussy ain't all that as well. Most women ain't all that. But you kind of need to go and realize that for yourself. That's the difficulty I have with especially like dating and like spirituality and money. I remember when last year, I was in more of that like spiritual mode. You probably remember if you watch me in like 2023, I had like the beard, the mustache, the short hair. And I was making more of like the full guides, and I was in the spiritual thing where, I was talking a lot more about the way of the superior man and everything. And to my students in Adonis School, I used to say to them like, oh yeah, like money's not that important. You need to be more purposeful and spiritual and stuff. And I realized one day that was kind of like stupid advice. Like I was coming from a place of privilege. I was making like 100K a month telling guys who were making no money that, yeah, guys, money's not important. It's the more intelligent thing to say. Of course, it's the same way they're saying like, yeah, pussy's not all that. That's the intelligent thing to say as the guy who's getting it. But to the guy who's not getting it, it's like, how can you say it's not important when it's the only thing in his fucking mind? And you can tell the guy, yeah, bro, don't think about it, bro. Just focus on your purpose, bro. But it's not, because it's like he's stuck on that part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like sex is at the fundamental baseline next to eating and excreting, like being able to shit and piss is the same like basic human need for sex, love, and intimacy. So it's easy for us to say like, yeah, sex isn't all that, bro. You should just go focus on other things. But there are countless guys out there who are just going to think about this till they get the skill of being able to sort of check this off. There's a big YouTuber, he's a fitness YouTuber named Derek. His YouTube channel is called More Plates, More Dates. And he has a video on his channel which is something like, get the nightlife and pickup part of your life over as fast as possible. And he talks about, like, most of his videos, imagine they're just about like fitness, muscle, and steroids and stuff like that. But then he has a random dating video where he says, oh yeah, like he used to do a lot of the sort of pickup artist kind of cold approaches, dating, sex when he was younger. And he advises guys to just get it over with fast. It's interesting that he says that, because that's probably the right way to do it. That's like the way that I did it as well, as like 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. I just was like a guy who was like, you know, just enjoying his sex life and just fucking and stuff. And maybe that's not a good thing, right? It's degenerate, fine. But here's the thing. It kind of like checked it off my mind. It took away that insecurity that basically all guys have of like not knowing how to get girls. Like, this is going to seem boastful. Hopefully you've watched this far of the video, you know I'm quite a truthful person, right? You can say so many things about me. I have so many weaknesses, but you know I'm brutally honest with the bad things that I have about me, like the weaknesses, but also with my strengths. I am quite self-aware. I know the fact that I change my mind all the time. I know like what my weaknesses are, the ADHD tendency, these things, right? I'll tell you one of the strengths of me. My mind went blank. Fuck. What was I gonna say? Yeah, we'll leave it there, boys. Guess what? I was gonna big myself up. I forgot what it was about. 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, you know what it was? The strength that I have, which is, it's gonna sound like a weird thing to call this a strength, but it's the certainty when it comes to dating and sex. I don't get the same kind of overthinking that many guys do. I don't. You get my point, right? Like I don't think like, oh, this girl's left me on red, and like, oh, like, am I good at sex or not? So many guys, this is what their mind is obsessed over. And when you've had like some period of your time, like where you've had these experiences, you don't actually think like that anymore. Your thoughts are now about the sport that you care about and the business and whatever. So there can be value in checking this off. But again, here's the thing, I could be wrong, because also this is basically me telling other guys to get into like the casual sex scene, which we do know is wrong as well. So perhaps there's like a fine balance here. As always, I basically don't really know what I'm talking about. It's worked for me, and I've gotten to like a really nice point in life, which I'm actually really, really happy with. But I've had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations to get here, a lot of cuts and burns. So take everything with a grain of salt. Hopefully this helps the guy who wrote this post. My biggest lesson to him, and if you're still watching, for everyone else who's in the sort of friend zone kind of thing, does she like me, does she not? Bro, she fucking doesn't. If you have to ask yourself that question, she doesn't. I just want to leave you with one message. Again, I want to re-emphasize something I said in this video. When girls want to fuck you, they make it so obvious. And just ask yourself right now with some self-respect, don't you just want a girl like that? Don't you just want the girl who actually wants you? How nice would your experience of life and dating be if you were dating a girl like that who made it, you know, who had such a desire for you? Why not just wait up until you get to that point? Don't stay in this situation thinking about this girl who doesn't even like you or respect you. She's not even that into you. Like, why are you still thinking about her? The way to practically stop thinking about her is almost like a form of meditation, that when you realize your brain is thinking about her, you bring your brain back to something else, like your goals, your fitness, maybe the present moment, the physical sensations. You're creating this association, this habit, that anytime your mind thinks about her, you kind of make it think about something else. That's the way you get over her. And then keep yourself busy with your goals, talk to more girls, and when you get another girl who's showing you quite good interest and she's really attractive as well, that's usually when your mind will kind of completely move on. So the cure to this problem, the cure to one-itis, the cure to like being in the friend zone, is just go get a girl who actually wants you, right? Because what you'll realize is there's actually nothing special about this girl. It's just that she's the only one who's paid you attention, but she's the only one that's paid you attention because your attention is going on to her. Let me just leave you with this final point. Think of the girl that you've got like this obsession over, right? Would you still be obsessed over her if I gave you a girl who was equally as attractive, but this other girl wanted to fuck you, and this other girl was like, you know, wants to be in a relationship with you, whereas the girl that you're obsessed over is kind of running away. The moment you start thinking of, wait, another girl who's as attractive, but she's actually running towards me. Okay, sweet, yeah, why the fuck would I still be obsessing over this girl, right? Then you realize that, oh yeah, this girl that I've been obsessed over, she's not actually even that great. It's just that I have no one else, because if we gave you a different girl who wanted to be with you, you wouldn't be obsessed over this girl. So then you just need to go and find like the partner who actually wants to be with you, and you need to do that by clearing your mind and not spending your time obsessing over this one girl, going on dates with her, going on long FaceTime and texting her and whatever, and start diversifying your attention to other girls. You might not even know this, but there's probably, if you're in like school, there's probably a girl in your school who would be your girlfriend like within a week or 2 weeks from now, and you maybe have never even spoke to her, or maybe she even has shown you some signs that she likes you, but you just haven't picked up on them because your mind's been obsessed over this girl who doesn't even want you. Do you see like the principle, the new law, the guidebook to live your life as a man? It's like, choose a woman who wants you. You want to ask a question like this and want me to make a video? Top link in the description, join Adonis Gang, and you can write a post with Dear Hamza, and you can subscribe to this YouTube channel as well if you want to. Goodbye. Mwah.